Traps can be an easy way to get awesome loot in Minecraft. Hey, this is RonnygoBOOM and welcome to the first episode of my trap series. Today we'll learn about the basics of PvP trap building. Most of the traps shown today will not be new, but will help you get familiar with the effective methods of trap building. If you'd like to see more advanced traps, be sure to subscribe to my channel so that you're notified when I create the next video on this series. Okay, here are the basics. Every trap should have three major components: a trigger, a kill mechanism, and a way to collect the loot. Let's start by talking about some of the basic triggers. The whole point of the trigger is to trick another player into setting off your trap. One of the most important things to remember when making a good trigger is to try to prevent your trigger from looking like a trigger. Buttons are often a dead giveaway. Tripwire can be spotted with a keen eye, and trap chests look slightly different than normal chests if you pay attention to the red ring on the front side. Some other trap cliches are pressure plates in front of doors and hallways that are 2 blocks wide. If a player sees a hallway like this one, they usually become wary of traps immediately and may never even enter at all. Let's look at some of the most common triggers used for trap making. We have levers, buttons, tripwire hooks. These also work on items. Pressure plates. And another thing that I like to do is to put villagers on pressure plates. When you push it off, it triggers. Next we have detector rails and mine carts, trap chests, and this is a form of block update detector. I'm not going to go into these too much right now because block update detectors are more of an intermediate to advanced form of trigger. Some of the best triggers are those that are well hidden. For example, let's say I wanted to go mining. Oh, there's some iron. Hold it. Did you spot the trigger? Let's go back. This pressure plate is the same color, and if you make it a step down, it's almost impossible to see. Another thing that I did here is this cave is completely artificial. I added lava for a natural source of lighting, and I made sure that you could see this iron from the outside. The problem with these kinds of traps is that you're not going to attract very big names. If you're still low on iron, then you're probably not going to have some really good materials on you, but you never know. Traps are awesome because you never know what kind of loot you're going to get. Let's take a little look at this. It's simply just pistons that pull back the floor. Very simple. There's the kill mechanism. Another way to make triggers is to make them blend in with their surroundings. For example, over here we're going to have a mountain, and what do you do when you're on top of a mountain? Well, since you don't want to take fall damage, sometimes you'll aim for a water source at the bottom. This water source, on the other hand, will kill you. This isn't a trigger in the traditional sense, in that there's actually no mechanism involved. Instead, this just tricks you into jumping into a pool of water that has no bottom, and I hold up the water with signs. Then you fall to your death in a pitfall trap, and hoppers collect your loot. Most of these triggers are detectable if you have a keen eye. I like to use bud switches and proximity detectors as my triggers because they're nearly invisible, even to experienced players. I'll show more on that in a later video. Next, let's take a look at some simple kill mechanisms. The first I have is a simple piston retracting pitfall trap. Activated with a simple trigger, it drops your enemy to oblivion. Next, we have a simple crushing trap, suffocating the target until it's dead. Another way to kill players is to drop mobs on them. Potions can be an effective kill mechanism as well, especially when emitted from dispensers. Trapping someone in a small space and drowning them is often a very effective method. And so is burning them in lava. My favorite kill mechanisms are the kind that automatically reset themselves. Sure, there are many really good one-and-done kill mechanisms, but the best types of traps are those that you don't have to continually reset to keep getting more loot from new players. TNT is a really effective killer, but it's not my trap of choice. It's not easily automatically reset. Once you use it, it's gone. And sometimes it even blows up items. Now let's take a look at some loot collection techniques. The first I have set up is a simple hopper collection. All you have to do is make sure that when your enemy dies, they die in an enclosed space on top of hoppers. Another way to store items indefinitely is to send it in a water stream all the way to an unloaded chunk. Sometimes this could be pretty far, but usually 100 blocks will do it. This next method is mostly used in more advanced trap designs, and it actually is not very reliable unless you set it up just right. But let's take a look at it anyway. I'm going to place some items over here, and some zombies spawn with the ability to pick up items. As this zombie crosses these items, he'll pick them up. Then he'll fall in a designated area and drop all those items when he dies. All I have to do to get the items is run by and pick them up, or I can set up some hoppers down here to pick them up automatically. Sometimes you can have your trap trigger more than one thing. You can trigger both a kill mechanism and a loot collection mechanism. One of the most classic ways to make triggers is to blend them in with your faction base. One classic trigger is to make an opponent think that they're pressing a button to get into your base, where in reality it's going to get them killed. With this one, I chose to use a suffocation trap instead of a pitfall like the others. Let's see how this one works. Here I have pressure plates and redstone on top of hoppers that will trigger some sticky pistons to suffocate you. As long as you're standing on the pressure plates, the sticky pistons will continue to suffocate you. Sure, you could jump up in the air, but as soon as you get off that pressure plate, you'll just fall right back down. When you die, your items will get sucked up into the hoppers, which lead in a channel right into the base, so it can be easily collected. This type of flush piston design is a little more advanced, so I can give you the link here to how to make it. Alright, so how do we get into this base? Simply hit the other button. I'm not going to fall for the same trick twice. This time let's go around and ender pearl in. Ooh, what's this, a staircase? Awesome! I found my way into the base. Cool. So, let's see what they got in their chests. Ooh, diamonds. Take their stuff. Alright, let's pay close attention here. Make sure we don't fall in any other traps. Looks like there's a door over there. On the ladder. Oh my gosh. For this trigger, I hid tripwire on the other side of some distracting items. First of all, this glass floor doesn't just happen to be there. It's intentionally there to distract you from looking at this tripwire. This tripwire is great against this stone background because unless you know to look for it, you're probably not going to see it. Tripwire hides back in the corner. I have a door here to make it look like you might want to go over to the corner to try and find the door. If you noticed when the tripwire was tripped, this floor opens up and the ladders are pulled back along with the floor so that you can fall all the way into the pit trap. And at the bottom, as usual, hoppers that collect all your items. Be sure to click here for some trap videos that I've already created. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time on my trap tutorials or maybe even on factions. Leave a comment to let me know what kind of trap you'd like to see next. And stick around for future episodes on block update detectors and proximity detector triggers, as well as some great new hidden kill mechanisms.